Hey everyone! Welcome to The Young and the Restless. I'm Jane, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Young and the Restless, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the next 2 weeks, July 21st to August 1st, state that Chance Chancellor will question a fresh suspect before more victims are targeted. Sally Spectra will also get a shock, so there will be a lot of action on the CBS soap. During the week of July 21st to 25th, Audra Charles will find Kyle Abbott duped her into believing her plan was successful. Kyle will inform Audra, during their makeout session, that he knows she has been planning with Victor Newman to end his relationship with Claire Newman. Kyle will later provide updates to Nikki Newman, who will be unhappy with Victor's activities. However, Victor will be occupied assisting Chance in interrogating a new suspect, Carter. Carter will have to answer some harsh questions regarding his commitment to Kane Ashby, but he will defend him and deny involvement in Damian Kane's murder. Of course, Carter will continue to make sneaky tactics, such as keeping Nick and Sharon Newman under house arrest apart from the other visitors. Nick's attempts to flee will cause pandemonium, and he will be injured, making him even more outraged by the circumstances. Sally will be shocked and will assist in the treatment of Nick's injury. After forming an alliance with Phyllis Summers, Billy may also come to Nick's help. Speaking of Phyllis, she'll have a difficult interaction with Lily, which will leave them divided on whether Kane is innocent. Amanda Sinclair will be concerned that Kane may erase evidence as he attempts to view the backup surveillance footage. Kane would propose that he ask Amanda the same question and wonder whether she is the reason the initial copy of the video disappeared. Meanwhile, Lily and Audra will get concerned about a commotion near the maze. Nikki will also be alarmed since she is about to be trapped in a dangerous circumstance. The killer appears to be planning to go after other victims, leaving Nikki in need of rescue, so we'll see if Victor, Kane, or someone else steps up. The week of July 28th to August 1st will offer more whodunit developments, so fans will be waiting to see when the true murderer is revealed. Many fans believe Carter is the perpetrator, but will YNR provide a predictable ending or go with someone more shocking when it's time for the reveal? Cell service may be restored at some point, giving Nate Hastings and Amy Lewis the opportunity to learn of Damian's tragic fate. Claire may also finally contact Kyle and inform him that Cole Howard has passed dead. Kyle will be angry that he has been away from Claire all this time while she has been suffering in Genoa City. Victoria Newman will continue to grieve the loss, but she will not have to do so alone. Nate appears to be ready to console Victoria once more, and after he learns of Damian's death, she will be able to do the same. Nikki's heart pounded like a drum in her chest, each frantic beat echoing in her ears as she teetered on the edge of the jagged cliff. The wind howled around her, whipping her hair into a wild frenzy as she struggled to maintain her balance. One wrong move, one slip, and she would plunge into the abyss below, where the sharp rocks and churning waves promised nothing but destruction. Her fingers clawed at the rough stone behind her, searching for any purchase, but the crumbling edge offered no mercy. The villain's laughter rang out, cold and merciless, as they watched her struggle from a safe distance, reveling in her terror. Nikki's mind raced, her thoughts a whirlwind of panic and desperation. How had it come to this? Just moments ago, she had been so close to uncovering the truth, so close to exposing the conspiracy that had haunted her for months. But now, trapped between a merciless enemy and a fatal drop, she was out of options. Her breath came in short, ragged gasps as she tried to steady herself, but the ground beneath her feet was giving way, tiny pebbles skittering into the void below. Time seemed to slow as she realized the inevitable. She couldn't hold on much longer. The world around her blurred, her vision tunneling as adrenaline surged through her veins. Was this how it would end? Alone, betrayed, and so close to the answer she had been seeking? Just as her strength began to fail, a voice cut through the chaos, a voice she recognized, one that sent a spark of hope through her terror. "Hold on, Nikki." The words were fierce, determined, and before she could process them, a strong hand shot out, gripping her wrist with an ironclad hold. The sudden force yanked her backward, away from the crumbling edge, and she stumbled into the safety of solid ground. Her legs gave out beneath her, and she collapsed onto the dirt, gasping for air as the reality of her near-death experience crashed over her. Looking up, she saw the face of her rescuer, their expression a mix of relief and lingering fury. It was someone she had doubted, someone she had pushed away in her relentless pursuit of the truth, yet here they were, risking everything to save her. The weight of that realization hit her harder than the fall would have. The villain's laughter had vanished, replaced by the sound of hurried footsteps retreating into the shadows. They had been so sure of their victory, so certain that Nikki was finally out of the way. But now, with her unexpected savior by her side, the game had changed. Nikki's hands trembled as she pushed herself up, her body still shaking from the adrenaline, but her mind was already shifting back into focus. This wasn't over. Not even close. Whoever had just saved her had also given her a second chance, and she wasn't about to waste it. The cliffhanger of her life had just taken a dramatic turn, and as she locked eyes with her rescuer, she knew the next chapter would be even more dangerous. The stakes were higher than ever, the enemies more ruthless, but for the first time in a long while, Nikki didn't feel alone. The question now wasn't just about who had come to her rescue, it was about what they would do next, and whether they could survive the storm that was coming. The tension between them was palpable, a mix of gratitude, unresolved conflict, and unspoken questions. Why had they been there at just the right moment? Had they been following her, or was it pure luck? Nikki's instincts screamed at her to demand answers, but the look in their eyes told her this wasn't the time. The danger was still too close, the threat still looming. Without a word, they pulled her to her feet, their grip firm but not unkind, and nodded toward the path leading away from the cliff. It was a silent agreement, they needed to move, now. Nikki hesitated for only a second before falling into step beside them, her mind already racing ahead to what came next. The pieces of the puzzle were still scattered, but with this unexpected ally at her side, she might finally have a chance to put them together. The journey back was tense, every shadow feeling like a potential ambush, every sound a possible threat. Nikki's nerves were frayed, her body still recovering from the sheer terror of dangling over certain death. But despite the fear, despite the exhaustion, she couldn't shake the burning curiosity gnawing at her. She stole glances at her rescuer, studying their profile in the dim light, trying to decipher their motives. Trust didn't come easily to her, not after everything she'd been through, but in that moment, she had no choice. They had saved her life. That had to count for something. As they reached a safer location, hidden from prying eyes, Nikki finally broke the silence. "Why did you help me?" Her voice was hoarse, raw from the scream she had swallowed back on the cliff. The question hung heavy in the air, and for a long moment, she wasn't sure they would answer. Then, with a sigh, they turned to face her fully, their expression unreadable but their eyes filled with something she couldn't quite name. "Because you're the only one who can end this," they said simply, as if that explained everything. And maybe it did. Nikki swallowed hard, the weight of those words settling over her like a mantle. She had known the stakes were high, but hearing it confirmed sent a fresh wave of determination through her. The cliffhanger had been terrifying, the rescue unexpected, but now the real challenge began. Whoever had come to her aid had just thrown them both back into the heart of the danger, and this time, there was no turning back. Nikki took a deep breath, steadying herself for what lay ahead. The answers were out there, the villains were still plotting, and with her mysterious ally by her side, she was ready to face whatever came next. The panic on the cliff had been real, but so was the resolve that now burned within her. This was far from over. In fact, it was only the beginning. Nikki Newman stood frozen, her breath shallow and uneven, as the edge of the cliff crumbled beneath her heels. The late afternoon sun, once warm and comforting, now cast long, sinister shadows across the rocks, bathing the landscape in a golden hue that felt cruelly indifferent to the chaos unfolding. The wind whipped her hair around her face as her eyes darted around the secluded cliffside, searching for any sign of safety, for any hope that anyone, might be near enough to help. Her heart pounded in her chest like a warning drum, each beat a signal that time was running out. Just hours earlier, she had been sipping iced tea at the Newman Ranch, unaware that her life was about to spiral into a deadly nightmare. Victor had left town unexpectedly on urgent business, and with her usual security detail reassigned for the day, Nikki had thought she'd take the opportunity to reflect by the lake trail, something peaceful, something grounding. But someone had been watching. Someone who knew her routine, who knew just how to isolate her. The events unfolded too fast, a blur of rustling leaves, fast footsteps behind her, a shove, and then the sickening realization that she was no longer in control. She now teetered inches from the drop, the jagged rocks below whispering promises of death. Every instinct screamed at her to move, but her legs were leaden, her fingers trembling as she grasped a thin branch beside her to steady herself. She didn't know who had pushed her. The assailant had worn dark clothing, a hood masking their features, disappearing into the brush before she could even scream. Panic clawed at her throat, tears stinging her eyes. She had survived so much: alcoholism, heartbreak, loss, betrayal, and yet this moment, this terrifying stillness between life and death, was unlike anything she had ever endured. The silence around her was deafening. The only sound was the wind hissing between the trees and the eerie cry of a hawk circling overhead. Her phone had been tossed during the struggle and now lay a few feet away, just out of reach, its screen flickering with a faint glow. If she moved too suddenly, the cliff could collapse beneath her. If she didn't move, she could lose her chance at survival. Her mind raced through the faces of those she loved: Victor, Victoria, Nick, Summer, and even those who had betrayed her. She thought of the secrets she still held, of the enemies she had made, and wondered which one had decided that today was the day she would pay the price. Suddenly, the sound of twigs snapping cut through the stillness. Nikki's head jerked to the left, her eyes wide, heart lurching with renewed fear. She braced herself, expecting to see the shadowy figure return to finish what they had started. Instead, a familiar voice called out, breathless and alarmed. "Nikki!" It was Nick. Her son's voice had never sounded so precious, so urgent. He appeared at the top of the incline, his eyes immediately locking onto hers, his expression contorted with fear. "Don't move," he said, raising his hands as if trying to physically calm her from afar. Nikki couldn't stop the sob that escaped her lips. Relief and fear mingled in her chest, tightening her throat. "Nick," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I'm slipping." He didn't waste another second. He threw himself forward, carefully navigating the unstable rocks and overgrown path, inching closer to her with every careful step. His mind must have been racing, calculating every movement, weighing the risk of reaching her against the danger of causing the cliff to collapse entirely. "It's okay, Mom. I've got you," he repeated, even though they both knew he didn't yet. Not quite. Not until he was close enough. She glanced down once more at the rocks below and saw, with horrifying clarity, how far she would fall. Her body tensed, and the branch she clung to snapped slightly. A small yelp escaped her as a chunk of earth crumbled and fell away beneath her. Nick leapt forward with a strangled shout, managing to drop to his knees just in time to grab her wrist. "Hold on," he gasped, pulling with everything he had. Nikki's feet slid, her legs dangling now over the void, but she clutched his forearm, digging her nails into his skin. "Don't let go," she pleaded, tears blurring her vision. "I won't," Nick grunted, his face contorted with the strain of holding her. His fingers dug into the dirt behind him, anchoring himself as he pulled her inch by inch away from the ledge. "Just keep looking at me, Mom. Focus on me." She did, locking eyes with him, using his strength as a lifeline, forcing herself not to look down, not to think about the pain in her shoulder, the way her arm trembled in his grasp. For a moment, it seemed like he might not be able to hold on. The ground beneath him shifted, his foot sliding, sending small rocks tumbling over the edge. But then another voice called out, this time female. "Nick! I'm here." It was Victoria. She appeared at the trailhead behind them, her eyes going wide at the sight of her mother clinging for life. She didn't hesitate. Racing forward, she dropped beside her brother, bracing his legs with her own as she grabbed Nikki's other arm. "We've got you, Mom," she said, her voice choked with emotion. The two siblings worked together, grunting with effort, until finally, Nikki's knees cleared the edge and she collapsed onto the rocky path, gasping, weeping, clutching her children as if they were the only things tethering her to this world. For several long seconds, no one spoke. The three of them held onto each other, breathing hard, tears mingling with sweat and dirt. Nikki felt her body begin to tremble violently, not just from exertion but from the terrifying realization of how close she'd come to dying. Eventually, Victoria pulled back slightly, brushing Nikki's hair from her face. "Are you hurt?" she asked, her voice shaking. Nikki shook her head, though her entire body ached. I don't know. I think I'm okay. Just bruises. Maybe my shoulder." Nick retrieved her phone and handed it to her, then stood, scanning the tree line. "Who did this?" he asked darkly. Nikki looked up, her face pale. "I didn't see their face. They pushed me, then ran." Nick cursed under his breath. "We need to get you out of here. This wasn't an accident." Victoria nodded. "We'll get security, police. Whoever did this won't get away with it." But as they helped Nikki to her feet, her eyes remained fixed on the cliffside, a strange expression flickering across her face. A mix of fear and realization. There were only a few people who knew she would be out here alone. And one of them had tried to kill her. Back in Genoa City, word spread quickly. Victor was contacted mid-flight and immediately ordered the jet turned around. By the time Nikki was back at the Newman Ranch, surrounded by medics and concerned family members, he was already on his way home. Sharon arrived soon after, visibly shaken, and embraced Nikki like a sister. Phyllis showed up uninvited but unusually solemn. Even Jack Abbott made a brief appearance, offering his concern with a hand placed gently on Nikki's shoulder. But beneath the outward calm, suspicion bloomed like wildfire. Who would dare target Nikki Newman? And why now? Summer paced the living room, furious, while Adam stood silently in the corner, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Questions circled like vultures. Was it someone from Nikki's past? Someone Victor had crossed? Or was the motive more personal, more current, and far more dangerous? That night, Nikki lay awake, unable to sleep despite the sedatives the doctor had given her. She kept replaying the moment in her mind, every sound, every detail. She remembered the smell of pine and sweat, the faint glint of a bracelet as the attacker shoved her. That bracelet. It wasn't a man's hand. It was smaller. A woman's. Her blood ran cold. She sat up, clutching her robe tightly. There was only one person she could think of who wore that charm bracelet. It was a gift from Tucker. Audra. The realization hit her like a punch to the chest. Could it be? Audra had recently grown close to some of the family, even trying to insert herself into the Newman circle more than once. And her relationship with Tucker had made her dangerous. Unpredictable. Was she trying to remove Nikki from the equation? Or send a warning to Victor? But Nikki couldn't prove it, yet. And until she did, she had to stay one step ahead. She couldn't show weakness, not now. Whoever wanted her gone might try again, and next time, she might not be so lucky. She picked up her phone, hesitated for a moment, then texted someone she hadn't contacted in years. Paul Williams. If anyone could dig into this discreetly, it was him. As she waited for the response, her reflection in the window stared back at her, worn, shaken, but alive. And burning with resolve. She had faced ghosts, guns, and heartbreak. But this? This was personal. Whoever tried to kill her had made one fatal mistake. They failed. And Nikki Newman didn't forget.